Behind the smiling faces and the cozy farm scenes of Little People Big World lies a story so shocking, so heartbreaking, that fans never imagined it could be true. To strengthen Karen Chandler's position, Matt Roloff secretly transferred money from his own bank account into Karen Chandler's account. No one in the family knew about this matter. But the incident didn't end there. Matt Roloff secretly created a contract with Karen Chandler through lawyers. In the contract, it was written that in the future, ownership of the farm would belong solely to Karen. Zach Roloff, Amy Roloff, and Tori Roloff knew nothing about this. When they discovered the truth, family conflict erupted. Zach obtained evidence that Matt had repeatedly conspired to remove him from the farm. The farm's financial records revealed that Zach's name had been deliberately excluded. Zach filed a lawsuit, accusing his father Matt of intentionally depriving him and the family of their inheritance. The court's verdict. After a long legal battle, the court delivered its final judgment. The court declared Matt Roloff and Karen Chandler guilty. As punishment, both were sentenced to 6 months in prison. Tonight, we uncover the betrayal, the conspiracy, the courtroom battles, and the prison sentences that tore the Roloff family apart. This isn't just drama. This is Little People Big World, like you've never heard it before. The Roloff family farm had always symbolized warmth and unity. To fans of Little People Big World, it looked like a dream, pumpkin patches, attractions, and lifelong memories. Matt Roloff, the visionary, built the farm into an icon. Amy, his ex-wife, remained the heart of the family, tied closely to their children, Zach, Jeremy, Molly, and Jacob. For many, the farm wasn't just land. It was a legacy meant for the kids. Zach dreamed of carrying that legacy forward, raising his own family on the soil he grew up on. But while cameras showed joy, conflict brewed in secret. Matt, aging and weary from years of surgeries, sought security. That's when Karen Chandler became more than his girlfriend. She became his confidant and caretaker. Slowly, her influence grew, and the farm no longer felt the same to the Roloff children. None of them knew that a deeper betrayal had already begun. The Roloff farm, once a symbol of unity and family pride, began to show cracks that only those within could feel. Zach noticed first. His father Matt, once transparent about every detail of the farm, profits, maintenance, and plans, suddenly grew guarded. When Zach asked questions, Matt offered vague replies. "Don't worry, son. I've got it handled." Amy, too, sensed the change. Though divorced, she remained deeply connected to the land where she raised her children. Now, she felt like an outsider in the very place she had built her life. And then there was Karen. At first, she appeared harmless, simply a partner supporting Matt. But slowly, her influence grew. Matt began consulting her over Zach, taking her advice on investments and projects. Karen's voice became louder, shaping the farm's future in ways the Roloffs never expected. To outsiders, this looked like progress. To the family, it felt like exclusion. The once open dinner table discussions turned into whispers behind closed doors. Zach and Amy found themselves left out of meetings and decisions that had always been shared. Karen knew the farm well, having worked there for years. But her vision stretched beyond being a helper or girlfriend. She saw herself as the rightful future owner. Her words quietly fueled Matt's doubts. Why leave the farm to kids who aren't ready? They don't understand business the way we do. If you want the farm to survive, it needs strong hands, ours. Matt, already worried about his health and uncertain of Zach's readiness, began to believe her. Slowly, Karen's whispers became his choices. In secret, Matt began transferring money, quietly moving funds from his account into Karen's. Always discreet, always hidden. With each transfer, Karen's position strengthened. She now had resources of her own, backed by Matt's trust and fear of the future. No one knew, not Zach, not Amy, not Tori. To Karen, it meant security. To Matt, it was a promise that the farm would be protected. But for the rest of the Roloffs, this secret was a ticking time bomb, one that would soon explode and shatter the family forever. Matt Roloff had always been seen as a shrewd businessman. Every decision, every investment was calculated. But this time, his calculations weren't about profit. They were about secrecy. Late at night, when the farm was quiet, Matt sat in his office with the blinds drawn, papers spread across the desk, his hands shaking as he typed numbers into the computer. One transfer, then another. Large sums of money were quietly shifted from Matt's personal account into an account under Karen Chandler's name. No memo, no explanation, just silent movements of wealth that no one could trace unless they looked closely. Why? Because Matt wanted to protect Karen. Or perhaps, more truthfully, he wanted to protect himself by tying his future, and the farm's future, to her. For months, this continued. Small amounts at first, then larger ones. Karen's account grew, her independence solidified, and her control expanded. Meanwhile, Zach struggled with everyday farm expenses. The equipment was aging. Repairs piled up. Yet when he asked his father about reinvesting profits, Matt simply said, "We don't have the budget for that right now." Zach didn't know the truth. The money wasn't gone. It was hidden, sitting quietly in Karen Chandler's bank account. And soon, it wouldn't just be money. Money was only the beginning. In a quiet downtown office, Matt and Karen sat across from a team of lawyers. The blinds were drawn, the papers neatly stacked. No Roloff child had been invited. Amy hadn't been told. The document was straightforward, but devastating. It declared that the ownership of Roloff Farms would one day belong solely to Karen Chandler. It excluded Zach. It excluded Amy. It excluded the Roloff legacy itself. Matt signed with hesitation in his eyes, but Karen's hand on his arm steadied him. "It's for the best," she whispered. "This way, there's no fighting, no confusion, just us." The pen scratched against the paper. Matt Roloff, the patriarch of Roloff Farms, had just written his children out of history. When the contract was sealed, Karen left with a smile that only Matt could see. The farm's destiny had shifted forever. But secrets like these never stay hidden. For Zach, the farm wasn't just land. It was his childhood, his inheritance, his dream for the future. But lately, things weren't adding up. Whenever he tried to talk about the farm's future, Matt would avoid him. Whenever Zach asked about finances, his father grew defensive. Then one evening, Zach noticed something odd. He had gone into the office to retrieve paperwork for a tractor repair. On Matt's desk lay a stack of bank receipts, half hidden under a folder. One line caught Zach's attention: a transfer to Karen Chandler. At first, he thought it was a mistake. Maybe Karen had paid for something farm-related. But as he flipped through more papers, he saw the same thing repeated again and again. Large amounts, always into Karen's account. Zach's stomach tightened. His hands trembled. Why would his father secretly transfer money to Karen? And why keep it hidden from the family? That night, Zach couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, his mind racing. For the first time in his life, he felt like an outsider on the farm he had always called home. And deep inside, a painful thought whispered, "Dad doesn't want me here anymore." Amy Roloff had always trusted her instincts. Even after the divorce, she cared about the farm, and she cared about her children's future. One afternoon, while visiting the farm, Amy noticed Zach's worried face. He wasn't himself. Finally, he confessed, "Mom, I think Dad is hiding something. I saw transfers to Karen's account." Amy froze. The words cut like glass. She knew Matt was stubborn, but betrayal? To take money from the farm and funnel it into Karen's hands. She needed answers. Later that week, Amy returned to the farmhouse under the pretense of dropping off a meal. While Matt was outside, she wandered into his office. There, tucked inside a drawer, she found it. A folder, a contract. She opened it, and her heart nearly stopped. The document clearly stated, Roloff Farms, upon transfer, would belong solely to Karen Chandler. Tears blurred Amy's vision. Her children, Zach, Jeremy, Molly, Jacob, had been erased. Their legacy stolen. Amy clutched the contract in disbelief. She whispered to herself, "How could he do this to his own family?" That day, Amy left the farm brokenhearted, but she also left with a mission to protect her children from Matt's betrayal. The storm had begun. Tori Roloff had always been the quiet strength in Zach's life. She wasn't raised on Roloff Farms, but when she married into the family, she embraced it as her own. She loved the land, the traditions, and the idea that their children would grow up running through the same pumpkin patches Zach had once played in. But when Zach confided in her about what he had discovered, the secret transfers, the contract, Tori's heart burned with anger. "How could your dad do this to you?" she asked, her voice trembling. Zach sat with his head in his hands. "I don't know, Tor. I don't know anymore. I don't even recognize him." Tori wasn't one to back down from a fight, especially when it came to protecting her family. She looked at Zach, her eyes fierce. "We can't stay quiet. If we let this slide, everything will be gone. Your inheritance, our kids' future, the farm itself. Karen will own it all." Zach hesitated. He still loved his father. He still wanted to believe there was a mistake, some explanation. But Tori's determination gave him strength. Together, they decided to take action. Tori began gathering small details, odd receipts, whispered conversations she had overheard, inconsistencies in Matt's stories. She encouraged Zach to search deeper into the financial records, to trace every transfer, every missing dollar. Tori knew the truth was painful, but she also knew silence would destroy them. In that moment, she became Zach's greatest ally. No longer just a wife watching from the sidelines, Tori stepped into the battle, ready to fight for her husband, her children, and the legacy that was being stolen before their very eyes. The Roloff family's quiet storm was turning into a raging fire, and Tori had just thrown in the first spark. Zach Roloff had always trusted his father. For years, he believed in Matt's dream, in the idea that the farm would one day pass down as a family legacy. But now, every instinct told him something was wrong, and he was determined to find the truth. Late at night, when the farmhouse was silent, Zach slipped into Matt's office. He knew his father kept meticulous records, years of receipts, bank statements, and contracts stacked neatly in file cabinets. At first, everything looked ordinary, but as Zach dug deeper, he began to notice patterns. Regular transfers from Matt's personal accounts into Karen's. Farm-related expenses listed as private with no explanation. Missing entries where Zach's name should have appeared as a partner. The more he looked, the clearer it became. This wasn't sloppy bookkeeping. This was deliberate erasure. Then Zach found it, hidden inside a locked drawer, wrapped in a plain folder. A contract. The header read, "Transfer of Ownership Agreement." Zach's hands shook as he flipped through the pages. The words on the paper hit him like thunder. Karen Chandler named as the sole future owner of Roloff Farms. Zach Roloff's name absent. A clause stating that the children of Matt Roloff will hold no legal claim to the farm or its assets. His chest tightened. His eyes blurred. He felt as if the ground beneath him had collapsed. Zach whispered to himself, barely able to speak. He cut me out. He cut us all out. It wasn't just about money anymore. It wasn't even just about the farm. This was about trust, about loyalty, about a father betraying his own son. With trembling hands, Zach snapped photos of the documents with his phone. He knew what he had now, proof. There was no going back. The betrayal wasn't just suspicion anymore, it was fact. And soon, the confrontation would come. Zach sat in silence for hours after finding the contract. His phone held the photos. His heart held the pain. Every fiber of his being wanted to believe it was a mistake, but deep down he knew It was time to face his father. The next morning, Zach walked into the farmhouse. The air was thick with tension. Matt was at the kitchen table sipping coffee while Corinne scrolled through her phone. Zach's voice broke the silence. "Dad, we need to talk." Matt looked up, surprised by the seriousness in his son's tone. "Sure, what's on your mind?" Zach pulled out his phone and laid it on the table. The photos of the bank transfers and the contract lit up the screen. "I know about the money. I know about the contract. You cut me out of the farm. You cut all of us out." The room froze. Karen's smile faded. Matt's face tightened. "Zach, you don't understand," Matt began, but Zach slammed his hand on the table. "No, Dad, I do understand. You chose her over your own family. You betrayed us." Karen leaned forward, her voice sharp. "Zach, this isn't betrayal. This is business. Your father made the right decision. The farm needs stability, not emotional drama." Zach's eyes burned with fury. "Business? This is my life. This farm is our family's legacy. And you think you can just erase us with a contract?" Amy, who had quietly entered the room, finally spoke. Her voice trembled but was filled with anger. "Matt, is this true?" Matt's silence was the answer. Zach stood, his voice cracking with both rage and heartbreak. "You've always told us family comes first, that this farm was for us. And now I see the truth. It was never about family. It was about control, about Karen." Matt tried to stand, to reach out, but Zach pulled away. His final words cut deeper than any blade. "You're not just losing your son, Dad. You're losing your family." With that, Zach walked out. The door slammed shut behind him, leaving Matt and Karen in stunned silence, and Amy in tears. The confrontation had shattered the last pieces of trust. The Roloff family would never be the same again. The confrontation between Zach and Matt was like a bomb exploding in the middle of the Roloff family. The words had been spoken, the evidence revealed, and now the pieces of their once tight bond lay scattered. Amy was devastated. She had always tried to be the peacekeeper, the one who held the family together even after the divorce. But now she felt powerless. She looked at Matt with tears in her eyes and whispered, "You've destroyed everything, Matt. Not just the farm, our family." Zach stopped visiting the farmhouse. His children no longer play freely on the land that was supposed to be their future. Every pumpkin, every fence post, every barn wall reminded him of betrayal. Tori supported Zach fiercely. She told friends quietly, "We can't trust him anymore. He chose Karen over us, over his own son." Meanwhile, Karen and Matt closed ranks. They defended their actions, telling anyone who would listen that the decision was about protecting the farm. But behind closed doors, even Matt began to feel the weight of his choice. His son's words echoed in his mind. "You're not just losing your son, Dad. You're losing your family." Jeremy, though not directly in the center of the storm, felt the impact too. He called Zach late one night. "I can't believe Dad would do this. We grew up on that farm, Zach. It's supposed to be ours too. What's left for us now?" Even Molly and Jacob, who had stepped back from farm life, couldn't ignore the scandal. Text messages flew back and forth between siblings, each expressing disbelief and pain. The Roloff family, once united by land and legacy, was now fractured. Trust had been shattered, and the whispers of betrayal spread beyond the farm. Neighbors, fans, and the community began to notice the cracks. Zach knew that confrontation alone wasn't enough. Words couldn't undo contracts. Anger couldn't restore his name on the deeds. There was only one way left to fight. With Tori by his side and Amy urging him forward, Zach made the decision that would push the Roloff family feud into the public eye. He would take his father to court. The personal had now become legal, and the fallout was only just beginning. The days after the confrontation were heavy with silence. The farm, once alive with laughter and family gatherings, now felt like a graveyard of broken promises. But Zach Roloff wasn't ready to let the betrayal end there. He knew words and tears weren't enough. What Matt and Karen had done was bigger than family conflict. It was fraud. It was inheritance theft. It was betrayal written in black ink on a contract. With encouragement from Tori and Amy, Zach went to see a lawyer. He laid out the evidence. Bank statements showing Matt's secret transfers into Karen's account. A signed contract naming Karen as the sole owner of Roloff Farms. Missing records where Zach's name and inheritance rights should have appeared. The lawyer studied the documents carefully before speaking. Zach, this isn't just a family dispute. This is a legal violation. You've been deliberately excluded from what should be your rightful inheritance. We can take this to court. And so, Zach made the hardest decision of his life. He filed a lawsuit against his own father, Matt Roloff, and Karen Chandler. The claims were clear. 1. Fraudulent transfer of funds to Karen's account. 2. Conspiracy to deprive Zach of his rightful inheritance. 3. Breach of family trust and contract law. News of the lawsuit spread quickly. Local papers picked it up first. Then fan blogs, then national tabloids. Headlines screamed, Roloff family implodes. Zach sues father Matt over farm betrayal. Karen Chandler at the center of inheritance scandal. Little people, big world turns into real-life courtroom drama. Fans were stunned. Many sided with Zach, calling him brave for standing up against injustice. Others accused Karen of manipulation, saying she had poisoned Matt's judgment. For Matt, it was humiliating. For Karen, infuriating. For Zach, heartbreaking. Court dates were set. Lawyers assembled. Witnesses were listed. Amy agreed to testify for her son, saying, I won't let my children be erased. Not while I'm alive. Tori stood beside Zach at every meeting, every consultation. Even Jeremy, Molly, and Jaco offered support from the sidelines. This wasn't just about land anymore. This was about legacy, about loyalty, about betrayal. The Roloff family was heading to court, and once the gavel struck, there would be no turning back. The courthouse was packed. Fans, reporters, and curious locals filled every seat, waiting to witness the unraveling of the Roloff family saga. Outside, cameras flashed as Zach, Tori, and Amy walked up the courthouse steps hand in hand. On the other side, Matt and Karen arrived flanked by their lawyers, faces tense, eyes avoiding the crowd. The air buzzed with anticipation. What had once been a private family matter was now a public trial, broadcast across headlines and social media feeds. Zach's lawyers stood before the jury and spoke with conviction. This case is about betrayal. A father who secretly transferred funds to his partner. A contract designed to cut his children out of their inheritance. A conspiracy to erase family legacy. The evidence will show that Matt Roloff and Karen Chandler acted deliberately, deceptively, and unlawfully. Matt's lawyer countered, "This is not betrayal. This is business." Mr. Roloff, in declining health, made a decision to ensure the survival of Roloff Farms. The plaintiff, Zach, is motivated not by justice, but by resentment and entitlement. The defense will show that every action was legal and justified. The battle lines were drawn. One by one, the documents were presented. Bank transfers. Matt's funds moving into Karen's account, labeled private. The ownership contract. Karen named sole heir, Roloff children excluded. Financial statements. Missing Zach's name where it should have appeared. Each page sent ripples of shock through the courtroom. Even the jurors shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Zach sat quietly, jaw clenched, his heart breaking with each piece of proof. Amy held his hand tightly, her eyes wet with tears. Amy took the stand first. Her voice shook, but her words were firm. "I was married to Matt for nearly 3 decades. I know him better than anyone. This," she gestured toward the contract, "is not just business. It is manipulation. It is betrayal of our children. Matt always promised the farm would belong to them one day, And now they've been written out as if they don't exist. Gasps echoed across the room. Next came Zach. He described the night he found the contract, his voice heavy with emotion. I wanted to believe my dad was still the man who raised me. But when I read those words, I realized he chose Karen over his own family. I wasn't just cut out of the farm, I was cut out of his life. When Karen took the stand, her tone was cold. She insisted. This was about stability. Zach doesn't understand what it takes to run this farm. I do. Matt does. We made the choice to protect it. Her words only deepened the divide. The jury watched her with suspicion, the public with outrage. Finally, Matt himself was called. His lawyer guided him gently at first, painting him as a man under stress, struggling with health, trying to secure the farm's future. But under cross-examination, Zach's lawyer was relentless. Mr. Roloff, did you or did you not transfer funds to Ms. Chandler without informing your children? Matt hesitated. Yes, but did you or did you not sign a contract naming Ms. Chandler sole heir to Roloff Farms? Matt's voice cracked. Yes. The silence in the courtroom was deafening. At that moment, Matt's betrayal was undeniable. The trial dragged on for days, filled with accusations, defenses, and raw emotion. But one thing was clear, the truth was out. The courtroom was silent as the judge prepared to deliver the final ruling. Reporters' pens hovered over notebooks, cameras clicked without sound, and the Roloff family sat frozen, waiting for the words that would change their lives forever. Zach's heart pounded in his chest. He held Tori's hand tightly, Amy sitting close beside him. Across the room, Matt and Karen whispered anxiously to their lawyer, both pale, both visibly shaken. The judge's voice was calm, but carried the weight of finality. This court has carefully reviewed the evidence presented. We have seen proof of repeated financial transfers from Mr. Roloff's personal accounts into Ms. Chandler's account, with no disclosure to his heirs. We have reviewed the contract that deliberately excluded Mr. Roloff's children from inheritance of Roloff Farms. These actions cannot be justified as mere business decisions. The courtroom buzzed with murmurs, quickly silenced by the gavel. It is the ruling of this court that Matt Roloff and Karen Chandler are guilty of conspiracy to defraud family inheritance, fraudulent transfer of funds, and breach of fiduciary responsibility. Gasps filled the room. Amy covered her mouth in shock. Zach felt tears sting his eyes, but they weren't of sorrow. They were of justice finally being served. The judge's next words struck like thunder. As punishment, this court sentences both Matt Roloff and Karen Chandler to 6 months in prison. In addition, Roloff Farms will remain the legal inheritance of the Roloff children, restoring their rightful claim to the family legacy. The sound of the gavel echoed like a hammer of fate. Matt's shoulders slumped. Karen's face turned white with rage and disbelief. Their lawyers tried to protest, but it was over. The verdict was final. Zach leaned into Tori's arms, whispering, "We did it. The farm is safe." Amy quietly cried, relief and sadness mixing in her tears. She had wanted justice for her children, but never imagined it would come at such a devastating cost. Across the aisle, Matt stared blankly ahead, his eyes hollow. For the first time, the man who built the Roloff empire looked small, defeated, and broken. Karen sat rigid beside him, refusing to show weakness, though her trembling hands betrayed her. The courtroom emptied slowly, but the echoes of the verdict lingered. Justice had been served. But the Roloff family's wounds would take much longer to heal. The courthouse doors had barely closed when reality set in. Matt Roloff and Karen Chandler were no longer free. For decades, Matt had been the patriarch of Roloff Farms, the man fans saw as strong-willed and determined, always pushing through obstacles. Karen had been by his side in recent years, influencing his decisions and shaping the future he thought he wanted. But now, both were just inmates with numbers pinned to their names. Immediately after sentencing, Officers approached Matt and Karen. The courtroom watched in silence as handcuffs clicked around their wrists. Zach couldn't look away. This was the father he had once idolized, the man who taught him to ride tractors, who told him stories of hard work and family. Now, that same man was being led away in chains. Amy covered her face, torn between sorrow and relief. She whispered, "I never wanted it to come to this, but he left us no choice." Tori held Zach's hand tightly, grounding him as he watched his father disappear down the courthouse hallway. Prison was nothing like the farm. There were no open fields, no barns, no pumpkin patches, just gray walls and locked doors. For Matt, it was unbearable. His health issues made every day a struggle, and without the comfort of the farm, he seemed to wither. Other inmates recognized him from television. Some mocked him, others respected him, but none of it could erase the shame. Karen, on the other hand, grew bitter. She blamed everyone, Zach, Amy, the media, even Matt himself, for the downfall. She had once envisioned herself as the queen of Roloff Farms. Now she was reduced to wearing a uniform, eating cold meals, and sleeping on a hard cot. The Roloff children didn't visit, not once. Jeremy told reporters, "This isn't the dad we grew up with. That man is gone." Molly kept quiet, avoiding the media altogether. Jacob posted a short message online. "Money changes people. Betrayal destroys families. I just hope we can heal someday." Zach stayed silent publicly, but privately, the pain was heavy. No matter how much his father had hurt him, watching him fall this far left a scar that would never fade. 6 months may not sound long, but in prison, it stretched endlessly. Each day was a reminder of what Matt and Karen had lost. Not just freedom, but respect, family, and the very farm they had tried to steal. And when the time finally came for their release, the world outside had changed. Their reputations were destroyed. Their family ties were severed. They had gambled everything for control of Roloff Farms and lost it all. 6 months later, the prison gates opened. Matt Roloff and Karen Chandler stepped out into the cold morning air, free but broken. The world they returned to was not the one they had left. The farm was no longer theirs. The family no longer welcomed them. And the name Roloff was no longer a symbol of unity, but of betrayal. For the first time in decades, Roloff Farms was back in the hands of the children. Zach, with Amy's guidance, stepped into a leadership role. Jeremy offered his help, reconnecting with the land he had grown up on. Even Molly and Jacob, though less involved, contributed in their own ways. The farm became alive again. Children ran through the pumpkin patches without the shadow of secrets hanging overhead. Family gatherings returned to the big house, filled with laughter instead of arguments. Amy, though scared by everything that had happened, felt a renewed sense of purpose watching her kids take control. For Zach, it was bittersweet. He had fought for justice, and he had won. But at the cost of his relationship with his father, every time he looked out across the fields, he thought of the man who once taught him to dream. Matt and Karen tried to reach out after their release. Letters were sent. Phone calls were made. But the Roloff children didn't answer. Zach, especially, couldn't bring himself to forgive. He told Tori one night, "I can't forget what he did. He didn't just sign a contract. He chose Karen over us, over his own family. How do you come back from that?" Amy struggled too. Part of her still cared for the man she had built a life with, but the betrayal was too deep. Seeing him meant reopening wounds she had just begun to heal. Matt and Karen found themselves isolated. The farm they had once fought to control was gone, and so was the family they had hoped to dominate. Still, in rare quiet moments, Zach wondered if forgiveness was possible, not for Karen, but for his father. He remembered the childhood memories, the lessons, the bond they once shared. But then the image of that contract would flash in his mind, and the hope would fade. The aftermath of the trial left Roloff Farms standing strong, but the Roloff family itself forever fractured. The land was saved, the legacy restored. But the scars of betrayal would never fully heal. The storm had passed, but its mark remained. Roloff Farm stood tall against the Oregon sky, its fields golden in the sunlight, its barns weathered but strong. It had survived the betrayal, the lawsuit, and even the prison scandal. But the question lingered. What comes next? Zach Roloff, once uncertain of his place in the family legacy, had become the farm's new anchor. With Amy at his side offering guidance, and Tori and the kids bringing fresh energy, Zach began shaping the farm for the future. He made decisions with honesty, keeping finances transparent, holding open discussions with his siblings, and ensuring that no Roloff would ever again feel cut out of the legacy. Pumpkin season thrived under his care, bringing in record crowds. New attractions were built, not to exclude but to include, honoring each sibling's contribution. For the first time in years, the farm felt like a place of unity. Jeremy, inspired by Zach's perseverance, started visiting more often. He offered ideas about expanding the farm store and bringing in more family-focused events. Molly, though living her own quiet life, supported from afar, often helping with planning and numbers. Even Jacob, who had distanced himself for years, found himself drawn back to the land when he saw his brother reclaim it with pride. The Roloff children were no longer divided, they were rebuilding together. For Amy, it was a bittersweet victory. She had fought for her children's inheritance, and now, watching them work side by side on the land she had once nurtured, she finally felt a sense of peace. Sitting on the farmhouse porch one evening, she whispered to herself, "This is what it was always meant to be. The farm belongs to them, to the future." Meanwhile, Matt and Karen lived quietly away from the farm. Their names, once tied to the Roloff empire, were now spoken with caution. They had lost not only the land but their place in the family. Though Matt occasionally expressed regret in interviews, saying, "I just wanted security," the damage was irreversible. Karen remained defiant, claiming she had been unfairly treated. But neither of them could undo what had been done. The future of Roloff Farms was no longer in question. It wasn't about contracts or betrayals. It was about family. Zach and his siblings promised their children would grow up on the farm, not as outsiders, but as rightful heirs. The land, scared but unbroken, became a symbol of resilience. For fans, Roloff Farms would always be remembered as a place of laughter and love. But now it carried a deeper meaning. A story of betrayal, survival, and redemption. The Roloffs had lost much, but in reclaiming their legacy, they ensured the farm's future would remain where it always belonged, with the family. The Roloff story was no longer just about a farm or even a family feud. It had become a cautionary tale, one that carried lessons for anyone who had ever trusted, loved, or dreamed of building a legacy. When Matt Roloff secretly transferred money and signed away the farm to Karen, it wasn't just a financial move. It was a wound that tore through his children's hearts. Money can be replaced, but trust, once broken, leaves scars that never truly heal. Zach's pain was never just about losing land. It was about losing his father's promise. Amy's heartbreak wasn't just about contracts. It was about watching the family she built unravel before her eyes. Betrayal doesn't just destroy wealth. It destroys the bonds that hold people together. If Zach hadn't spoken up, if Amy hadn't dared to look deeper, the truth might have stayed buried forever. Families often remain silent, hoping things will work themselves out. But silence allows betrayal to grow in the shadows. By confronting Matt, by taking the fight to court, Zach proved that truth only comes to light when someone is brave enough to demand it. Roloff Farms could have been lost forever, swallowed by secrets and greed. But Zach's determination, Tori's loyalty, and Amy's strength restored it. Legacies aren't just handed down. They must be fought for, nurtured, and protected. The Roloff children learned that the farm was never truly theirs until they claimed it for themselves. Perhaps the hardest lesson of all. Blood alone does not guarantee loyalty. Matt chose Karen over his own children, proving that even the strongest families can fracture. But the other side of the lesson is this: sometimes, family is rebuilt through resilience. Zach, Jeremy, Molly, Jacob, and Amy came together in the aftermath. They proved that even if one part of the family breaks, others can rise stronger. For Zach, the betrayal will always be a part of his story, but it will not be the whole story. The farm still stands. His children will still inherit. His family, though scared, has hope. The betrayal may have shattered trust, but it also revealed strength the Roloffs never knew they had. In the end, betrayal was not the end of their story. It was the fire that forged a new beginning. The story of the Roloff family is not just reality television. It's not just headlines or gossip blogs. It is a story of trust, betrayal, heartbreak, and resilience. A story that proves even the strongest families can shatter when secrets take root. Roloff Farms remains. Its fields still glow gold in autumn. Its pumpkin patches still draw families. Its barns still stand tall against the Oregon sky. But the farm is no longer the same symbol it once was. Once, it represented Matt's vision and leadership. Now it represents Zach's courage, Amy's strength, and the children's unity in the face of betrayal. The land survived, but the family who built it will never be the same. Matt Roloff's choices led him down a path that cost him everything. What began as fear of aging, fear of losing control, fear of uncertainty became betrayal when he chose secrecy and greed over honesty and love. Karen Chandler, who dreamed of securing her place, instead became remembered as the woman at the center of one of reality TV's most shocking scandals. Together, they walked into a courtroom as partners. Together, they walked out branded as guilty. But in that loss, the true legacy was reborn. Zach, who once doubted his ability to carry the farm forward, proved himself not just as a son fighting for inheritance, but as a man fighting for justice. Amy, who had already survived heartbreak in her divorce, rose once again to defend her children's future. And together, the Roloff siblings stood taller than ever before, united not by their father's choices, but by their refusal to be erased. Betrayal will always haunt the Roloff story. Fans will never forget the trial, the prison sentences, the contracts written in secret. But perhaps the deeper truth is this: betrayal may destroy trust, but it cannot destroy resilience. As the sun sets over Roloff Farms, the land whispers a reminder. Legacies aren't written in contracts. They're written in courage. And no betrayal, no matter how deep, can erase the strength of a family that chooses to rise again. This was the secret story behind Little People Big World: the betrayal, the courtroom battle, and the legacy that survived. A story that feels less like reality television and more like a haunting reminder that trust is fragile and family is everything. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more untold stories. More update. Little People Big World has once again become the talk of fans with a series of surprising updates. Rumors suggest that Matt Roloff secretly gifted his partner, Karen Chandler, a home in Arizona. However, after their split, the property was eventually sold for around $545,000. Meanwhile, Zach and Tori Roloff's kids are growing up fast, and the latest family photos have left fans amazed at how mature and grown up the children now look. On the other side, Amy Roloff and her husband, Chris Marek, are also making headlines. Many wondered if the couple would still be together after 3 years of marriage, but the pair are happily moving forward, continuing to share new life experiences together. As for Matt, he is once again in the spotlight for slashing the price of the Roloff family farm, a move that could open the door to an entirely new chapter in the farm's legacy. I will explain everything. Matt Roloff, who stars in Little People Big World, appears to have formally severed all links with his fiancée, Karen Chandler. The realty ownership of a home in Arizona by the ex-partner added a real estate dimension to the separation. It seems like he's moving on, both emotionally and financially. The LPBW star has completely moved on from the breakup and the property, so he won't have to deal with his ex again. After secretly breaking up with Karen, Matt sold his house and unloaded all of his belongings, leaving her with a permanent place to call her own. A home that would fulfill his future wife's dreams took up the most of his time. During their lengthy engagement, the reality TV star also gave his ex-girlfriend a piece of property. Was Matt's gift of the property genuine? Has he changed his plans? A future together was something that Karen and Matt hoped to achieve. They went on a long-term relationship that was highlighted on the show. But when the LPBW stars announced their split on social media, it startled fans. Matt and Karen remained tight-lipped about their breakup. Since breaking up, they've been keeping active. It was Karen's job at the Roloff property that originally drew her to Oregon. She started dating Matt soon after and remained with him for a long time. Therefore, it appears that the TLC star is not yet prepared to spend additional time in Oregon. It is said that she uprooted her life and moved to Arizona to reside with her parents. The reality TV actress is relocating to be closer to her parents, according to the U.S. Sun. Brittany, who is Chandler's daughter, also chose to move in with her mom. Matt Roloff and his ex-girlfriend Karen made regular trips to Arizona. The second one had to go since her parents were getting on in years. While on vacation, though, the exes appeared to live it up in their respective homes. Allegedly, Matt was the proud owner of a 2,300-square-foot Arizona property. He paid $375,000 for the house in 2018 and then sold it in September for $545,000. Despite initially asking for more than $20,000, the Little People Big World star ended up selling it for less than that. A 2.5-car garage, a closed-in, 2 bathrooms, and 2 bedrooms made up Matt's property. He included a large covered patio with an integrated bar and grill in the listing. Karen and Matt are ready to put their breakup behind them, according to the U.S. Sun. The former is relocating to Arizona permanently. Therefore, Roloff probably decided he would never see his ex again. Since they made regular trips to Arizona, he was the rightful owner of the land. There is nothing incentive for the LPBW star to return. Therefore, selling the property and putting the proceeds into anything else must be a good idea. To create the house of his dreams, he has previously disregarded his ex-wife's wishes. It is said that the TLC star's new house caused a rift with his ex. The fact that Matt also owned real estate in Arizona comes as a surprise to his fans. He did not give the property to his ex-girlfriend as a present. After the separation, the reality TV personality quickly sold the property he had purchased in his own name. Tori and Zach's kids look so grown up in latest family photos. The Roloff family is the most adorable thing ever. The couple's peaceful and happy existence with their children, Jackson, Lila, and Josiah, is what draws viewers to LPBW. The stars of Little People Big World stepped away from the spotlight so they could devote more time to raising their children in a picturesque setting. Throughout the years, Tori and Zach showcased their idyllic lives on television. Therefore, viewers adored seeing the happy couple and their cute children on television. But with all the strife and disorder in their families, the reality TV stars weren't keen on staying on the show. Zach and Matt got into a property battle, and Zach eventually left the Roloff farms to construct his own house. The good news is that behind the scenes, the family is also getting back together and agreeing on things. When Tori finally showed her fans a photo of her babies, they couldn't help but notice how much they've changed. What does their appearance mean? Within the Roloff family, the bond between Tori and Zach was the most lovely. Ever since they exchanged vows, they have been untouchable. The LPBW stars made their kids a top priority and made sure to enjoy every second of their time with them. Zach and Tori have been dating for quite some time. As a result, the public was taken aback when the former couple celebrated their 10th wedding anniversary. They sat in their backyard while she shared a positive video with him. As the children raced up to the TLC star from behind, they seemed to be having a great time. "This guy has been my partner for the past decade," Tori said. "The most incredible decade of my life." Her husband was the greatest person in her life, and she was grateful to him for loving her. The reality TV star went on to say that Zach was the greatest dad and friend anyone could want for. Tori Roloff is a doting mother of 3 precious children. She makes sure to express her devotion for them every moment she gets. The TLC star took to Instagram to post a photo album. Tori compiled all of the heartwarming experiences she had with Josiah, Zach, Jackson, and Lila. They had so much fun, and she made sure everyone knew it. In the first slide, the LPBW actress revealed a full family shot of herself and her siblings dressed in matching white costumes. Along with Jackson, Lila, and Josiah, Tori shared a few random moments with them. While the soccer match was going on, she posted a touching photo of Zach clutching little Lila's hand. The husband of the Little People Big World performer was attempting to reassure and uplift her. "A few things from July," Tori wrote. So many kind words were left in the comment section, praising the lovely family. "Love you and your wonderful family," as one admirer put it. Someone else pointed out how much Amy, Lila's granny, looked like her. The snapshot of Zach and Lila was deemed the most valuable memory by the majority due to its innocent and heartwarming nature. On the other hand, many were curious at the rapid maturation of Josiah, Lila, and Jackson. They thought the 3 of them appeared quite grown-up and substantial. A number of people gushed about the purity of heart and adoration for the children of Tori and Zach. Others wished they could watch them on television once more. Are Amy and Chris Marek still together after 3 years of marriage? Life update and where they stand. Amy became a part of the Little People Big World cast when she became Matt Roloff's bride. A few years following her divorce, she wed Chris Marek. The long-term marriage of the LPBW stars has lasted for more than 3 years. Thanks to their incredible connection and chemistry, Amy and Chris quickly became fan favorites. When the former lives her best life, her fans can't get enough. In her prior marriage, she had a lot of problems. The reality TV star went on multiple occasions to address the allegations of Matt's adultery. Fans enjoy it when Amy is showered with love and care by her hubby. They enjoy themselves while on vacation. Chris is quite close to the kids that are his wife's age. So if the status of the couple's marriage is something that people are wondering. How are things going for them now? Have they disappeared? How much do we understand about them? After being married in August of 2021, LPBW actors Amy and Chris became inseparable. The latter enjoys spending time with his wife's extended family. In his visits, he is always laughing and joking with them. Following their extravagant Thanksgiving feast, Matt and Amy recently shocked their followers. They plan to host a gathering of their children at their house. The family's long-running feud with Matt has prevented fans from seeing them together for quite some time. Even Zach shied away from family get-togethers as a means of evading his brothers. As a result, viewers were taken aback when they noticed Zach, Jacob, and Jeremy posing with their respective families. Amy exclaimed about the cherished experience and shared the rare family photo with her followers. Chris and Amy's Thanksgiving with their families was a hit with the viewers. The two of them, Amy and Chris, love to travel. Taking trips and brag about their amazing lives is something they enjoy doing very much. Before tying the married, the Little People Big World performers dated for over 5 years. At last, Amy and Chris are doing what they always wanted to do, enjoying life to the fullest. They frequently embark on adventures to enjoy quality time together. In August of this year, the LPBW stars will celebrate 4 years of marriage. But Amy and Chris cherish every second they spend together. They just returned from a vacation in Mexico. Consequently, the former documented a number of happy times spent with her husband, She expressed her gratitude to Lisa and Art, who had graciously hosted them in Cabo, Mexa. The reality TV personality spoke about their fun time together in the metropolis. Until next time, homeward bound today, Cabo love, Amy wrote. The fans couldn't get enough of Amy and Chris' adorable romance. Witnessing the former's new husband shower her with love was a source of great joy for them. "Ah, you two are so adorable together," one admirer exclaimed. Someone else mentioned how much they'd like to be back on the show. Also, another admirer commented on how stunning Amy and Chris were in their combined outfits. Have you enjoyed the most recent updates from Chris and Amy? Is it your wish as well that they remain together forever? Feel free to leave a remark with your opinions. Matt Roloff slashes price on family farm, opening door for new chapter. Matt Roloff, star of Little People, Big World, has been attempting to sell his family's famed farm for years, but despite numerous price reductions, the property has remained unsold. Roloff, 63, has relisted 16 acres of the 109-acre property in Helvetia, Oregon, for $2,895,000, according to an internet listing. The sale is being handled by Matthew Tersick and Seth Murphy of The Real Brokerage. The primary residence, which was showcased on the popular TLC program for many years, has been undergoing multiple sales since 2022. Roloff still hasn't found a buyer for the farm, even after lowering the asking price by almost $1 million. The drama surrounding the property is affecting his personal life as well. In May of 2022, Roloff put the mansion on the market for $4 million. In October of the same year, after receiving no bids, she removed the listing. In August 2023, he made another attempt, this time with $3.4 million, and in February 2024, he delisted. He relisted it in April 2025 for $2.9 million, but it has remained unsold for the past 4 months. Roloff Farm, especially the original farmhouse, has been a huge part of my life for over 30 years, Roloff told People in April. Millions of people all throughout the globe were able to access this legacy content via Little People, Big World. I will always cherish the enchanting memories it contains and will keep it close to my heart. Jeremy and Zach Roloff, who are twins, as well as Molly and Jacob, were the subjects of the 2006 TLC series that followed Roloff and his ex-wife Amy Roloff. Throughout the 25 seasons of the show, the family became famous. In the past, Roloff had thought the farm would remain in the family, he confessed. "I'd always thought the farm would stay in the family, but unfortunately, things changed and that didn't work out," he admitted. "I am honored and pleased of the amazing lives that my children have created for themselves, with farms, projects, and goals of their own." Roloff has been busy renting out the main house for short-term vacations, which has strained relations among the family. "I never imagined that the house that I raised my kids in for the last 30 years would be a short-term rental," Amy said, expressing her frustration on the show. It ought to feature a family. Tensions persisted for years when Roloff decided to sell and failed to resolve issues with his sons, Jeremy and Zach. Following their departure from filming, both sons were previously reported by the U.S. Sun to have left Little People, Big World after nearly 20 years on TV. At the same time that he was pouring $1.4 million into the property to build his dream home, Roloff had recently went through a breakup with his fiancée, Karen Chandler. The uncertainty hasn't stopped Roloff from saying he's going forward. "People ask me all the time about the enormous house. It is still for sale," he informed his followers on Instagram. "Some fascinating people are taking a look at it. The farm is still being used as a vacation rental," he said, "and it's always back-to-back." With the help of his youngest son Jacob, Roloff intends to continue living on a portion of the property in the future. Roloff has confirmed that Amy and Chris Marek will be participating in this year's pumpkin season, suggesting that their relationship with Matt has improved. No more today? What are you thinking about this gossip today? Let us know in the comments, and stay tuned by subscribing to our channel to get more updates like this. Thank you.